We've had a variety of discussions today, haven't we? From matters of great learnedness through to very personal and profound reflections on how the legal services sector has impacted society and us personally. And I'm left thinking that when we took the step as the Legal Services Board to not refresh our own strategy, but instead to lead the creation of the strategy for the sector, I did wonder if it was a step of bravery too far. And the reception we got was a very good and positive reception, so I felt good after that. But I haven't felt quite as good about it as I have until today. Because I think today has borne a great testament to the fact that we are in furious agreement about what needs to change. But beyond that, that we have a really good and shared and collective will to do something about it. And if I reflect on my time at the LSB, I think what we have got increasingly good at as our regulation has become more sophisticated is using our regulatory levers in concert. So we no longer do a performance assessment and then turn around and separately consider a rule change application and then, separately think about an application for a practicing certificate fee settlement. We use those in a joined up way to bring the data and evidence across that to say, how do we use these levers to get the right sort of response, to get the right protections for consumers, and to make sure the profession continues to be held in the high regard for which it has got its international reputation. What I will feel personally moved after today to do in terms of facilitating discussions with the board of the LSB is to think about our role not only in what it is we need to do, but how it is we need to go about it. And we talked today about the fact that there can be no diversity without inclusivity, and we've talked about the fact that there can be no strong ethics in the absence of a sense of public serving the public interest in our hearts as well as in our vocation. And I think that means that we need to play our full part in supporting the sector, think about the tone and culture in which it is we show this leadership that's going to be needed to get some of these sticky actions done and through over the coming months and years. I have an immaculate note that would allow me to talk about the highlights of each session. I'm not going to do that to you because I often think the most powerful reflections are the ones that come when you go home and your husband or wife or child says to you, what were you doing today and was it any good? So I promise to be very brief, but I would like 3 volunteers. I'd like somebody in the audience who thinks today has been absolutely magnificent and has been the best possible use of the time. I'd like somebody who thinks it was fine and, I'm glad I went. And I'd like somebody who thinks of, no, didn't live up to expectations. Can I have 3 volunteers? And I'd like you to tell us exactly what it is you're going to tell your family when you get home, because we'll have forms and we'll follow up and we'll do all that good stuff. But I really think that kind of qualitative stuff, and only put up your hand if you're prepared to be as candid to us now as you will be when you get home. Lady at the back.
Hello, my name's Emily and I'm academic at Aston University. In the middle category. Hello. That there's been some brilliant things that I've heard today, but there's some frustration on my part that things aren't changing enough, and that some of the messages that we've heard today aren't new. The stories that are being told are current but are old, and a lack of action on many of these things. So my son, who's 11, who I won't see this evening, so by the time I get home to Birmingham, he should be in bed if his dad has done his job properly. We'll see. But tomorrow morning, I will say to him that I've been amongst some brilliant people, some very insightful chats, but I'm still not sure how and when change is going to happen.
Thank you for that. So you put yourself in the middle category. A volunteer from one of the other two categories. Gentleman here.
I don't need to talk to my daughter because I've already sent her a message to say you need to listen to this, because she's a law student at the moment, and you know, she's wondering, do I want to go in the bar? Do I want to go into law? And I think, you know, this is a really good recorded session that needs to go into a lot of universities where we've got these potential lawyers coming in.
And do you think she's more or less likely to go into the law?
I'd like to think that if we can address the ethical debate, then yes. But at the moment, she's got a big question about that. Because, and I would say this, wouldn't I? But, you know, I think she is very ethical. I think she would be a very good ethical lawyer. But I think unless we can get the whole profession sorted out in terms of ethics, then I think there's going to be a question mark.
Thank you. And the last volunteer, lady here.
Yeah, I also was very impressed with a lot of what I've heard today, but I was thinking back over it, and it's probably just my memory, but there's only one person who's actually said, when we looked at this, we decided to do this, and we did this, and then we decided to do that, and we did that, and we decided to do that. And that was Michelle. And I can't remember anybody else doing that. And it's one of the things that's so frustrating. All difficult topics like this generate, particularly amongst lawyers, a mass of talk, a mass of literature, but very little actual action. And in fact, I know of other round tables. I've talked with colleagues in the past in city firms and things where they've done things. They've done exercises inside the firm where they've said, this is what we need to help women get on. And some of the points have been touchy-feely, but some of them have been actual things like always have a female member of every single interviewing panel, whether it's for people coming. This is for women diversity, not, but for whether it's people coming in, when it's getting advanced and everything else, and when you're doing beauty parades for clients. If you don't have a woman in them, ask yourself why not. Is it simply because we haven't got a specialist IP lawyer who's female or something like that? Or is there more to it? Why don't we have a woman on this panel? And those are the sort of things I think will really make a difference. But I don't see much effort for people to pool that productive points. We do this, 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 and send it out to everyone and encourage everyone to do the same sort of thing, or devise their own set of points for their own firm, whatever. I think that's my main frustration today.
Thank you. Now, there's no more pressed men, but that doesn't mean that I'd like to deny anybody the opportunity who would like to share any further reflections with us. Anybody in that category? Lady here, gentleman here.
Sorry, were you asking for a male volunteer?
No,
sorry, misunderstood. I just wanted to say there were a lot of things to take away, but I'm feeling so positive about today. So many things have been negative. Some things have been really hard to hear, but this is an amazing start, and I really hope that you do this again, and then we see how far it's come.
Thank you. Gentleman here, please, Tom.
Sorry, an apology, I didn't get to you last time.
Thank you very much for an excellent day. I really enjoyed all of the presentations today, and I think they're much needed, but I think they're a part of a much wider dialogue which involves other institutions and a much broader social conversation. A lot of the presentations today focused upon the law, and of course they would because it's a legal conference. But much of this also involves socialization, other agencies, school, parenting. So there needs to be that wider dialogue and that wider recognition that when lawyers come to practice, they're already formed, they already have their characters and their ways of being, etc. So therefore, to change is quite hard, and certainly these initiatives should be applauded, but there's something way before that needs to happen, at a much sort of educational and socialisation level, which is very important because it's just one part of the broader dialogue.
Which speaks to a wider partnership, really, doesn't it? Gentleman at the back. Sorry, Tom, I've just got them about as far apart as I could.
I need the steps.
Hi, I spoke earlier in the context of social mobility. So to give a shout out to the City of London Social Mobility Task Force, we're about to report on a number of recommendations on the 3rd of November. And key to that are actually specific recommendations on action. So I absolutely agree with the lady over here that there's a lot of forceful goodwill and there's a lot of talk, but action is what's needed, and specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound and relevant, smart. We use it in our everyday management of individuals. We should use it when we actually manage social issues. So in respect of that, we'll have recommendations for government, regulators, the regulated community, and we'll also have recommendations for the representative bodies. And I think that's, for our industry, I'm very proud to be a solicitor. I've been for over 25 years. And I think with the Law Society, with the convening power that it has, it should be a celebration of collaboration, peer mentoring in terms of sharing best practice. It's not a competition. And also reaching down the chain, because I think you spoke very well in terms of the mainstay of the profession isn't in the magic circle. The mainstay of the profession are in the regions, are SMEs, medium-sized firms. These are the organisations that the larger organisations need to reach down, and equally the in-house community as well. And that's the charity I founded is very much based on that principle of collaboration. So that sharing of best practice, that creating that environment whereby we come together as a profession, because we need to fish in a pool, not a puddle.
Thank you. Gentleman here.
Thank you. I'm struck by the fact that really a lot of the issues we've been talking about are the same across all professions. It could be engineering, it could be architecture, it could be medicine and law. And I would like to see more collaborative work between the professions, regulators getting together and having conversations about what's happening in other professions as well. Otherwise, I think there's a tendency you might become a bit parochial and think that look, this is really just law, and it's not. The issues that the Bridge Group have raised cut across all of these sorts of things. In Australia, for example, we have something called the Professional Standards Council, which sort of brings people together in these kinds of groups. And I would advocate that something like that is ultimately formed either on an ad hoc basis, informally, or eventually formally, probably, to enable that kind of dialogue and conversation so that you can really get hold of the best practice.
Great observation. Well, I think if I don't wrap it up there, when you go home, what you'll say is, well, it was a great day until we got the last bit, and then I missed my train. So I don't want to be the cause of that. But I'm glad I have invited those contributions, because it has made me very mindful that in order, if we are to do this conference again next year, for us to hold our heads up high, that we need to be in a regular dialogue with you, not least of all about the specifics and building confidence that we are making a shift on these issues in real time. So we will undertake to do that. So huge thank you to all of you who've come, to Paul Nesandoni, and to a lovely lady called Gabby Stewart, who's on maternity leave, who was Paul's right-hand woman in the preparation of this, and all of my colleagues at the LSB who've done us proud today in drawing things together so well. And of course, a big thanks to Marianne for keeping the whole event together in the fabulous way you have. So thank you all.